All right, good morning, Day Aesthetics. It's a blessed day. I am doing a pre-recording of chapter 3 today. You'll receive the link. Go ahead and complete the check-in questions. Review this slide and complete the check-in questions for your homework. Send it over to DCI Cosmo at gmail.com, and you know how to contact me if you have any questions or concerns. All right. So we're jumping into communication for success. We did a slight intro. Um, we did a slight intro on Monday, and today's Wednesday. And so I want to say welcome back. And as we're getting started, we know communicating for success is going to be amazing. Learning how we can receive information and how our information is perceived. Okay. And so let's look at our some learning objectives as a recap: explaining communicating for success, practice communication skills, conduct the client consultation, handle communication barriers, and follow guidelines for workplace communication. Okay. We also explain just human relations and communication skills, just dealing with building relationship and rapport, even with our, and in this particular chapter, building those characteristics within ourselves, standing on those life skills that we learned last week, and having ethical background characteristics, so striving and thriving in integrity, and learning how to work well with others. Um, Also, we look at lasting client relationships. Okay. We need to understand how to communicate for success for lasting client relationships. We want those clients to eventually become family. You know what? Family always is around, they're always around. Okay. Professional growth. Okay. Building our communication skills allows us to grow in different areas of our life, and then positive work environment. All right. You want to work, everybody loves to work in a positive work environment. We don't want to work in a negative Nancy environment it brings the morale down. And we want to keep the morale up. With the morale up, it's a positive place. People can get more work done. Okay. And then the whole workforce in that particular area, our team will be more productive overall. We look at practice communication skills and workplace communication. Respond be instead of reacting. All right. Respond instead of reacting. Believe in yourself. We talked about having confidence, talking less and listening more. And I wanted to tell you about reflective listening. I don't know if I discussed this before, but reflective listening is simply you listening to your client and then you repeating back what your client said. That's how we become on the same page when we're trying to determine what type of facial, what type of hair, what type of style do we want. So it's believing in yourself, talk less, listen more, incorporate your reflective listening, be attentive, pay attention to details. Sometimes paying attention to the details, you catch things that would have created larger problems. They were little small things at first, but we are always paying attention to details. So be very attentive and take your temperature. Ah, taking your temperature means evaluating yourself. Hold up, I know how I can be. Let me make sure I'm in a good place. All right. Let me make sure I'm in a positive place. Let me make sure that what I have to say that it does not seem tacky. And you ever heard of think before you speak? All right. Making sure that the words and selection that we have is not disrespectful to the other person. All right. And so thinking before we speak and taking our own temperature, knowing who we are. If it's something hot and making us hot and bothered, we need to take a moment. Don't address the situation right then. Step back, breathe, come back. Okay. Do whatever you got to do. Get yourself together and come back. Okay. And be more, and everybody at that point can be more reasonable. All right. And we can start to have a conversation and discuss some of the things and get resolution. Here's the golden rule of communicating: professional demeanor. Okay. Learning what is professional. We talked about some of the old times, not want to say too much older times, but how we used to have to wear all white or black bottoms, white tops, and business casual. Most of the time in the salon, we wore a light heel, wore slacks, things of that nature, light jewelry, but looking very professional. So we have to come back and say, okay, what is the professional demeanor? All right. And sometimes I think we did discuss the niceties and life skills, home training. Everybody don't have it. All right. So even in work relationships, people are yet learning niceties. They're yet learning, and their home training is being evolved, okay, into professional development. And professional development is how I say it, who I say it to, what I'm saying, okay? And we talked about the substitute of curse words and increasing our vocabulary. So all of that becomes part of your professional demeanor, all right? Smiling, body language. And some people say, you can read it on my face. My face says it first. That's something we need to correct. That's absolutely something we need to correct. And I tell students all the time, what saved me starting out doing Brazilian waxes, what saved me was um, I had a mask on. And you know, when you first start doing Brazilian waxes, it can be uncomfortable to you because you're like, operating in a place. This is new, but I want to, enhance my menu. So I'm doing these Brazilian waxing and I'm learning. So as I'm learning tact. I'm also learning facial expression. And so sometimes I couldn't control it. So I would put on my mask. Okay. And behind my mask, I could probably make any little face I wanted to make until I learned how to do it and become very professional in doing it. And say, oh, it's just a wax. Okay. It's just a wax. So, yeah, if your body language speaks before you do, that's something that you have to work on being in a professional environment. And then listening. Okay. Many times people speak, but they don't listen. And so that reflective listening, coming back again, listen to your clients. And as I listen to them, I'm writing. And that attentive of detail is coming in because I'm catching every little detail. And then I'm making sure things are clear before we start. So I'm repeating what they told me to make sure it makes sense to them. All right. And make sure we're on a good page and we're all getting ready. We all want the same solution. Speak clearly. I know there's a such thing as mumble rap, but hey, when we talking about money and services and things that you invested in, I need to speak clearly. I'm going in for the job, promotions. I want to take this to the next level. I need to speak clearly. So sometimes we have to practice that if we're not used to that. Okay. And so we're used to just going fast and jumbling up on our words in our downtime. Yes, I always want to be from 18 up. I didn't know I was going to be a teacher, but I'm a teacher. But I wanted to go further and be a platform artist. I wanted to stand on stages. And so what I had to do, most of the time when they found out where I was from, they kind of already, marked me as country, you know. But for me, so I wouldn't be prejudged, and I wanted those opportunities. I wouldn't let them um, mark me down from where they thought I was from. And so I knew when I opened up my mouth, that was my chance. And so I studied videos on how to present, how to speak. I was never in a choir, but I did choir exercises. When it came to comedy, I did comedy, improv, and that was just to get the jittery feelings out the way. And so at the end of the day, I did move on and bring all of it together. And when I did, it was a great practice presentation. So now I do public speaking and I can jump right in it. I still have butterflies, but I can project my words, I can project my thoughts. And sometimes people have to say, well, where are you from again? And when I get that, I say mission accomplished because I didn't want to be judged from, people think Southerners are the Southerners that they see on TV, which is everybody is not like that. Okay. And so I do not want to be depicted of that. I didn't want anybody to take anything from me because of that. And so when I'm able to go to New York or Las Vegas or Canada and speak, most of the time, they have to ask, where am I from? All right. Just because I feel like I beat a stereotype. And that should be a lot of people's goal. And so learning how to speak clearly where people understand you, and you want a greater understanding as well. You don't want this, I can't understand what they're saying, or it's jumbled around. So yes, that English you learned in high school, it does come into play when you're in business. Okay. So learning how to speak clearly and be able to communicate all works together. And of course, grammar matters. All right. Saying our words completely and learning those new words. I told you, me and my sister has um, the dictionary, one new word a day, and I make sure that I share that Friday when we come back on. But one new word a day, and at the end of the day, we're really increasing our vocabulary. We're more attentive. We're speaking clearly. We're listening. We have more body language and things of that nature. Okay. And then we have the importance of effective communication. Okay, so now we look at the importance of effective communication, using our words, how our voice inflects. And so high tone, low tone, things of that nature. And sometimes it's not what you say, but it's how you say it. If you've ever heard that saying before, it's not what you say, but it's how you say it. Okay. And then there's facial expressions. All right. So it can be written all over our face. And at the end of the day, when we look at facial expressions, we have to look at first impressions. All right. And so the excuse that people give that this how I look, I'm just like that. That that's not an excuse. That's a comfortable space that you're in. And it's not that's how I look. I'm just like that. That no one's trying to change you. But when it comes to professional development, that basically says that you refuse to embrace, so you refuse to adapt or have any bendability on the growth of your business, the growth, your personal growth within an industry or your success. Okay. You want to stay muzzled in a place that you have become pit comfortable with. Okay. And that's not attractive to people who want to be connected to people who grow. We should always be in a place of growth. All right. From being a toddler to a kid, from a kid to adolescent, adolescent to an adult. Okay. And that cycle continues to go around and round and round. Every year, you should see some growth because you had another year, your birthday, you're a year older. There should be some growth in our businesses and even in our personal lives. Our personal lives more importantly than our businesses. So we look at effective communication, and I think this is learned. A lot of kids start working young, and I shared by one of the two jobs that I had outside of beauty, and one was Target. It really taught me effective communication. It taught me teamwork. It taught me how to work well with others. Okay. And here's the tough thing: how to work with people that didn't look like me, agree with me, say things that I would say. So I was still around like minded people who were different. And it's okay. And it taught me that the world is going to be different. And I got to learn how to get along with everybody, how to communicate with everybody so everybody can get the job done. Okay. So effective communication includes words, our voice inflection. Sometimes we got to check ourselves and say, hey, am I too, or do I need to bring it up a little? Yeah. hmm And then we have to look at facial expressions. All right. So we do have to sometimes spend some moments in the mirror and train ourselves. Then we look at body language. All right. And you learn this by being around others who are like minded and want to grow. Even from kids, we start picking up characteristics from other kids. Okay. We start picking up characteristics from our parents. All right. And so as you're in the workforce, it's good to be under great leadership because you can start picking up characteristics of those leaders. All right. And what it has done for me, it has taken me to the next level and to the next level and to the next level. I have always found someone to learn something from. Okay. In any work environment that I've ever been in. And then there's visual tools, portfolios, lookbooks, resumes, social media, okay? IG, things of that nature. It is all a form of communication, okay? Meeting and greeting new clients. We look at a lot of times we meet and greet those new clients from the door. For me, I want you waiting on the client. You know what time they're supposed to be there. I want you waiting on the client from the door. Okay. As that client comes in, you can take them over to the reception area, whether they have to fill out, grab information, get signed in, and then go over to the consultation area. Notice I didn't say take them straight to their service area. The consultation area is where you initially find out what's going on with the client, what the client needs versus what the client wants, what the client needs versus what the client wants. All right. What the client needs versus what the client wants. Then you guys determine what the client is going to get. Okay, you're going to give your professional suggestion, and you guys are going to determine together what the client is going to get today, and you're going to determine a price. Once that is agreed upon, you go back up to the front desk. Okay, once you and the client goes back up to the front desk, you can do one or two things. One, prepare them for the treatment room and payment after, or go ahead and secure your payment. For me, I'm gonna choose securing the payment first. All right. By securing the payment first, we get the business lingo out the way. We go ahead and take care of the business, get that out the way, and then you go in and perform the service. As you are performing a service, you also talk about retail. Okay, retail in the things that this client needs to take home. You give them a little education on what they have going on. You can talk about when they need to return, and that's when they finish the service. You finish the service. You can do your recommendations at the front desk, and from the recommendations at the front desk, purchases or not, and then go over to the door where you're closing the service and walking them out. So the service is going to begin at the door, and it's going to end at the door. And so we're going to perfect our meetings and our greetings of our clients. Let's look at the client intake form. The client intake form is what everybody should be filling out. Okay. It's the contact information form. It's the first form that we have all our general information. It's going to talk about the product used. It's going to have what are your needs for your hair, skin, and nails. What are your preferences? Some things that you like, things that you do not like about your hair, skin, and nails. It's going to talk lifestyle, what job, what kind of work do you do. It's going to talk about medications. So, what medications are you on? And the reason why I need to know that, I need to know the contraindications of the services. So, if you're on some medications, certain services you cannot get, the medical issues or disorders that you have, because based on those issues or disorders, you are not able to get certain services, especially when it comes to waxing and things of that nature. Allergies or sensitivities, okay? All of that is included in the client intake form. Just if you were going to a new medical doctor or new medical center, you would have to fill out some forms. It's exactly the same thing, but catered towards beauty. Okay, here's the release form. The release form incorporates that you have been honest with us on the intake form. In the client consultation, you've been honest with us, okay? And everything we have asked, you have answered it honestly. If we perform a service and then it comes back that you were not honest with us, this is a release form that releases us from liability. You cannot sue us. It is totally on you because what you did, you were dishonest. And because you were dishonest, that allowed us to do a service that was not supposed to be done. And so anything that's going on the back end of that is now the responsibility of the client and not on the one that provided the service. All right. And so this is the release form. It's the service record card. It talks about services received. And that's just up top. Again, with the service record card, services received, the results, the formulations, products used or purchased, allergies or sensitivities. And let me tell you something with the service record card, that is not the person. If you're in a commission salon, these cards, this information belongs to the salon owner. It belongs to the salon. So it's not for you to take the information and use for your own accord. You cannot put the client's name and number in your phone. You cannot take this information of what you used on their face and how to do it and put it in your own personal records. Okay. As you're on commission and you work there, and they spend the money on marketing, getting the clients in. This is their information. The salon owns this information. All right. You decide to leave, you have to leave with what you came in with, nothing. And you do not get to take any of the client information over. All right. You don't get to take that over because you did not spend money and investment on that. If you were booth renter or suite owner, you got your own clients. This is all your information. All right. And so we'll talk more about that on Friday. Release statements, legal documents. It keeps you in the loop. And so there are no such things as lawsuits or reliable causes, lawsuits or anything of that nature when it comes to actually servicing clients. This is also another reason why we have ASCP, and I'll check it out on Friday. ASCP basically gives you that $100,000 liability insurance while you're still a student. And so even once you become licensed, you can pick it up, do your professional licensure, and pick up additional insurance as well. So it's always good to have some great coverage. How to use the intake form. It says when. From the moment a new client calls, 15 minutes prior to the appointment. Sometimes I like to have my clients come in 30 minutes prior to the appointment and let's have a conversation. If we're getting a new chemical or something of that nature, I need to come in 24 to 48 hours prior to the appointment. I need to also not only do the consultation, the intake form, I need to do a patch test. I need to try the product out on their skin in the elbow or behind the ear to make sure this person is not allergic to the product. All right. And so we'll continue to talk about that as well. How often with any significant changes. So once they come in, they'll do this, first time. Every time after that, if nothing has changed, they'll just sign and date. If something changes, medication or something like that, we'll actually do the whole thing over again. If they also have left for a period of time, they'll do the whole thing all over again. All right. Check-in questions. Remember, your check-in questions are due every Sunday. And then we have conduct the client consultation. The client consultation is just you having a conversation with your client and going back to what the client wants versus what the client needs. So you're going to determine the client needs, how to achieve those results. You're going to discuss with them how to achieve those results, if those results could even be achieved. And this consultation is going to be before every service. So this is why we never take the client from the front door to the service area. that means you bypass the consultation. By bypassing the consultation, we hadn't talked about what we're going to do, what we agreed upon. You don't know if they got this type of allergy to a product ingredient. You don't know if they got the money um, to even get the service that you're offering. All right, so that's why we cannot bypass the consultation and go straight to the service. We got to have some clarity. We got to take care of the business before we actually take care of the business. Okay. And we look at preparing for the client consultation. We need to be there in advance. These are some of the visual tools: pen and client intake form. I told you, as the client is talking, we need to be taking notes. You have styling books, pamphlets, literature, digital images. You want to be able to show this is where we are, this is the route we want to go. Also, if you're doing haircuts, if you're doing pimples, things of that nature, this has happened in the 30 days or 60 days. And so your services are probably progressed for this amount of time. And you can tell them for about 6 weeks, you'll need to come to me 3 times. So every 2 weeks, you'll come to me. This is what the price is going to look like. All of that needs to be discussed prior to them getting the service. We also, that's that variety of services. What are we adding from last time? We're discussing anything new that we have going on. We're talking about your portfolio work. So you may take them to your IG, you may take them to another about book, or take them to your social media where they can see some of the things that you've done. And also treatment brochures. We can talk about nails, jewelry, nail rings, jewelry, swatch books, everything. Okay. And so all of that should be taken in advance prior to them moving over to the treatment room. When we look at the consultation area, you want it definitely, you want it a more relaxing consultation area. If you are looking at hair and skin, you do not want to be on color walls. You want to have a small little area that's either a black wall or a white wall. Okay. You want to have an area where there's some natural light. If you have colored walls, then you can pick up warm or cool colors in someone's hair that's not really there. Okay. So a lot of people have pink salons. Well, pink is warm. It represents red. And so I can put my client up against a wall and I'm trying to figure out her hair color. I'm always going to pull red because I see the pink behind her. Well, what if this client formula was based on wrong information? That means the client final result of her hair color is going to be wrong. Same thing with skin, and we're choosing makeup selection. We're looking at the base of certain colors. We got to make sure that we are initially in that consultation seeing the right thing. Okay, so we need to do that in a space somewhere in that salon or spa that does not have a colored wall. So either black or white and some natural lighting. Here's 10 steps to the consultation method. You're going to review, assess, references, analyze, and check out the lifestyle. Okay. That's the time spent outdoors. How much water they intake? What about in dirt? I'm talking about your job. Where do you work? Things of that nature. Sun exposure. Where do you live? Where do you vacation? Where do you spend most of your time? Occupation. What do you do? Personal style. How do you like to rock when you go out? And then maintenance habits. How often, we want to say people bathe every day, but they don't. How often do you wash your face? Okay, what's your routine in the mornings and what's your routine in the evenings when it comes to cleansing your face? What are your abilities? Are you limited to what you can do? And then what's your time? Do you prefer short, quick services, or do you prefer you have all the time in the world? Or maintenance, when it comes to maintenance, you don't have a lot of time to do a lot of stuff, so you prefer something quick. So you need to know all of that. And then show and tell. This is reflective listening as well. Okay. We look at recommend, lifestyle, hair, nails, skin, upselling. We're going to talk about retail, but every client should also be a retail client. It's another stream of income. They need to take something home that maintains their skin until they get to you again. Okay. Then also the maintenance, the educational component, and we repeat everything with every client. As we conclude the service, okay, you will put as in your, this is a record card, sign, date, and any notes if something changed, okay? And the next person, even if you're not able to service them, you go back and look, oh, you were here to such and such time, such and such provided your service, and these were the notes they left. So it's just keeping everybody abreast. Here's additional check-in questions. How do we handle communication barriers? Okay. How do we handle communication barriers? All right. And so we're gonna let's see what we're gonna do. We're gonna close out on handling communication barriers, and we'll pick back up Friday at communication barriers. Okay. So for my day for my aesthetic students, this is part 1 of chapter 2. Okay. And I found this is the review slide. You can open this up and also read the ebook. Everybody should be reading the ebook, chapter 2, Foundations. Also, prepare to go ahead and do the check-in questions and send them over to dcicosmo@gmail.com. You had 2 other assignments, and that was pretty much save them for Friday. Who do we look at social media wise for imaging? Who do we look at social media wise for imaging? And let's see. Oh, this is chapter 3. Okay. All right. So chapter 3, communicating for success, all the way up to handle communication barriers. All right. And so what we'll end up doing, we'll stop right there and we'll pick up right there at communication barriers. Okay. What I want everybody to do, this is a recording. I'm probably going to do a recording of chapter 2 as well. And I'll send that to you later on this evening. Y'all have a blessed and amazing day, and talk to you soon.